wrapping, for wrapping your um, Power App into an iOS or Android app. So there are a few steps that you need to follow. I'll go explicitly those steps alone. And after that, we go into the demo and we'll also talk about, hey, what are we doing? What's our immediate next step? Okay. So let's dig into the overview. Okay. So in a nutshell, this is what we are doing, right? One picture speaks 1,000 words, right? So earlier, if you have created a Power Apps app, you would download Power Apps from the store and then open it and then search for your app. Let's say in this example, Contoso app, and then you'll open it. And this is how it will be shown, right? So now we are transitioning to the right side, right? Where you really don't have to have install Power Apps, right? You don't need Power Apps at all. Now your app will be in the store, Intune store or App Store or Play Store, whatever is the store that you want to distribute. You should be able to push your Power App there and then directly give it to your users. But remember, this is still an enterprise app, right? There is no B2C app, so that's the constraint. But your app, you'll bring your own branding. So just to see in detail, so this is what it looks like, right? So when you create a Power App, when you wrap it up, and when you publish it, user can download it and store it can download it into their phone. And when they click on it, this is how it looks like. So this will be your, future experience of your mobile apps. Okay. So now, what are these capabilities? So why do we need to do? What do we want to highlight here? The first thing is definitely no code, low code mobile app creation. We call it as MAD platforms, mobile app development platforms, no code, low code platforms. So today with Power Apps, you can create, most of you might be familiar with, you'll create your apps which are specific to your enterprise, right? So now you also have mobile apps, but you have to route it through Power Apps. But this specific capability will give you to have your own app. But the underlying app development framework is not changing. So that's why we're calling it as a wrap. So all your knowledge to build a Power App will remain same. You'll learn few additional steps, which is your wrapping, and then you're going to give it as your app to your customer. So that's why we call it as low code mobile app creation. So that's the biggest capability that we are coming up with. And the second one is your branding, right? So the missing part in this entire equation of building an app and publishing it for your users was your branding, right? So you built an app for your use cases. Your users are using it, but still you still Microsoft is in between, right? So it's actually not Microsoft in between, but this is just powered by Microsoft. Microsoft is giving you the platform for you to build your own app, right? So now with this, you'll have your own seamless branding, right? You'll have your brand on your app and your users will see your brand. So that's something like, that's the biggest advantage. And the third one, which is well thought through capability, is if you build one app, right? And if you're one Canvas app, and then you ship it as your uh, wrapped app or as your app, tomorrow, if you need one more, what should you do, right? So for that, the capability that we have providing is you build multiple your Canvas apps, link them through launch, the function, and then you can wrap them all the apps together and then ship it, right? So that's the key capability. It's not just one app, it's multiple apps that you can build and then club them into one single store app or distribution app and then publish it. Okay, so that's another key capability. So after that, so distribution, right? So distribution is the key. So you can distribute this through your Intune, you You can distribute through your app store, your Play Store. You can distribute it the your favorite distribution channel, right? Whatever is your favorite. The branding is yours, the app is yours, distribution is also your responsibility. We are not, we cannot host on behalf of you, right? We can give you the files, the necessary files for you to publish it or to distribute it wherever you want, right? That is your still responsibility. And the last one is the enterprise governance. So because we are totally completely tied up with Intune, all the app government policies are still there. They are not going anywhere because still the mobile player that you guys are using today is still the same. It is just the new clothes, right, to the existing app. So all the governance rules are still there. So that's what enterprises want, right? They want their data to be secure. They want to control their data. They want to, define the fate of their data. They don't want to give their data to anybody else. That all that still remains the same. Nothing is changing. Okay, those are all the capabilities. So now next, go to the high level architecture. Okay, so before I go into the technical details, this is what you'll be doing, right? You create an app. This is your first step, which is your maker experience. And then you wrap your app, whether you want iOS or Android, you just wrap it up, and then you publish it, either you're in Tune or to other stores, and your users are going to consume it from there. So three-step process, very simple. This you are already doing today. This is the new step. This is a new step. And your users, if you learn two new steps, your users will completely have a custom branded app for you. Okay. So this is a high level architecture, right? So today there is a maker portal where you'll go and make your app, right? So and I'm pretty sure you might have seen, like, when you go and create an app, there will be two options, two radio buttons, one tablet and one phone. You choose your phone and you build your app. Like, you have some need, and, let's say you're building leave management system for your company. You have created new entities, and then you have built it. So now, how do I wrap it? Right? What do I need to wrap it? So the first thing you need is your dataverse. You need to have your dataverse, and there is a solution, wrap solution, right? Which contains like many APIs that are needed to wrap your Power App. Okay, so now you built a Power App. Now the second step is you need to install this solution, right? Your admin has to install this solution into your org. So to give you a brief, to little depth into this solution, I'm assuming you guys are aware of what solution is. If not, I can talk about it little detail.
Yeah, I think that should. I think
I think
those solutions. What maybe you can proceed with it.
Okay, you guys know what solutions are. Okay, so now the new solution that we are making it, we are preparing for wrap are build. So you need to generate a build for your for packaging your Power App with Android or iOS wrapper, and then you need to get the build status, and you also need to get, you need to cancel it. You need to, like, build specific to iOS or specific to Android. So all that. So all plus few entities, which actually holds, like, hey, who actually triggered the build, and then when it is triggered, whether it was maintaining the state of the build. So all these are stored in Dataverse through this solution, right? So you need an entity. Entity is created through this solution, and few APIs are exposed and deployed to this Dataverse. Okay. So now, once the maker creates it, he's going to say, like, hey, Dataverse, can you please wrap my app with iOS? So now what this Dataverse is going to do is it is going to trigger the build pipeline that we have built specifically for iOS and Android separately. So based on the request that user makes, so the build will be triggered. And now with this build, it actually goes to Power Apps, blob storage, and then gets the app and then downloads it and then builds it and then stores it in App Center. And then you can download it from App Center and then publish it to your and or distribute it to your Intune or you know any other stores, app store or anywhere. Okay. So with this architecture, I'm going to give a pause and see if you have any questions.
So far, actually, we have one question. Maybe we will take up at the end, or you want to answer now? We have one question actually. Okay, I have another question on this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you first question. First question is, do we have multi-factor authentication as before?
Yes, it's not changing. It will remain exactly as is.
Okay, great. I think Bishwa, you got your answer. And Shashi is asking, can the app once wrapped still be accessible via existing Power Apps?
Yes, it will be. So the app list is not changing, right? If you go to your apps, this app will still be available in the existing Power App, and that is also wrapped, as a separate app.
Okay, and there is one more question actually.
Yes.
Will we be able to publish both on iOS and Android at the same time?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll give you two different files, right? I'll show you when I'm demoing it. So Android needs APK files or AAB files to be, futuristic, and iOS need IPA files. We give you both out so that you can take both and then, publish it to your stores.
Okay, great. I think you can proceed with the demo and other things. If any questions, maybe guys, you ping in the chat window, we will take up during QA session. Okay. Yeah, over to.
Okay, sounds good. So now that we understood the high level architecture, the purpose, and why we are doing this, now actually what are the steps that are involved to when you're trying to wrap an app, right? So the first one is you need to have an AAD. You need to have an Active Directory created. So the client AAD ID is required, and I'll show you how to create that. And you need to have an app center, and within that app center, you need to create the storage, probably one for Android and one for iOS. I'll also show you how to do it. And the third one is like, you're going to configure your wrap project. You're going to say like, hey, here is a Power App. Here are the assets. Now go build the project, right? So that's how you're going to configure it. And you'll save and build. And now you're going to, once the build is complete, you're going to download, sign, and distribute. So this signing is little tricky for iOS. For Android, we will be signing it, and then you can straight away take it and publish it. But for Android, there are certain steps that you need to follow, at least for public preview. If you want to publish it to iOS, you need to sign your own IPA file. Okay. With that, let's go to the demo. Okay, so let's go create an app. So first we need to create a Canvas app. So let's go create a solution. And so because we are tightly coupled to with the Dataverse, you need to have your app within a solution, right? So now I'm going to create a solution like, it is, let's say, this single user group solution. Okay. And I'll choose the publisher, and the publisher can be default publisher, and then I'll want to create a solution. Okay, I have my solution created. Okay, with that, I'm going to create a Canvas app. So this is your phone app, and it's like, Singapore user group test app. All right, so like some sample app. Okay, and save it. All right, so now we have built the app. Let's go to the app list because now the app is in a solution. It might take some time. This is the test uh, infrastructure. So I'm just playing the app so that it can be cached and it shows here. If not, we'll go with one of my web apps. Okay, so let's assume for now, like, this app is, this app will show here, eventually it will. And now let's see if it shows how to proceed further. Okay, so now this you see here, this is a wrap. This is a new feature that, uh, we are enabling. So this is where you will wrap, and you will also see the wrap here. This is the both locations where you can just go, both are same. This will open up your panel, right? So in this panel, you will have to give all these inputs, right? So once you have all this input, then you'll save it and build it. So it's that simple. It's not at all complicated, right? So now you have your, I think I already gave it. So you choose your demo app. And this one is the secondary apps, which I was talking about earlier, where if app one is talking to app B, or on a button click, if you want to redirect app one to app two, then you need to select all of that. So just imagine, right? When you're wrapping it, you need to bundle all those apps together, right? Otherwise, still it works, but the problem is the app has to be downloaded over the network, right? Which might be in a problem for iOS and App Store and Play Store, right? So there are certain rules that you need to stick to publish your app. And one of the rules is over the air, the number of configurations that you download, there are limits to it, right? We want to stick to those limits. We want to stick to all the rules that Apple and Android are imposing on all the developers, right? So that's why we recommend if you're having 2, 3 apps, then select them here, right? Let's say, if this 222 Sitaram wrap needs Sitaram wrap one inside that, then select these two and then bundle them together. And there is app platform here where you can choose, like, do you want iOS or Android? And if you choose iOS only, then you have to configure only for iOS. If you choose both, then you have to configure for both, right? So now I'll talk about bundle ID. I'll show you how to create the bundle ID, how to create app client ID, and app client redirect URI. So these three, keep it in mind. I'm going to show you how to create on Azure portal. And these icons are mandatory for any app to be published or distributed through any store, right? So you have to create this before this. We call them as assets. So if you look at, like, I usually create all of them and then store it, like, especially this, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for iOS and 5 for Android. Here I already uploaded because this is my old app. And now there is a splash screen. You can also upload a splash screen, which is again, like, it should be 144. And there is a welcome screen that has to be 286 by 286. So you need to create all those assets, and then upload it. So like I said earlier, so when you create all these assets, this will be stored in Dataverse through this solution, right? So this is what will be stored when you click on this save button, okay? And let's and you know most of you are already aware, like you know what is a background fill, button fill, all this you can change it. And you want a dark theme or the light theme, you can you know define it. And there are four URLs, which are two URLs and two tokens are required, one for Android and one for iOS. So this thing, I'll show you how to create this now. So once you have this, that's it, right? So if you bucketize all of them, you need to give the name and you know, this is the general. So let's keep it that way. So this is the general part where you'll have the name, the display name of the app. And if there are any other apps that needs to be associated with this, you'll club them together. And the second one is the icons, and that's pretty straightforward. And these are the app URLs and you know app center URLs where you want to publish your app. And the last one is the build. So these are all the builds that you know that are that I run in the previous that I ran previously, but you can always save your new configurations and run the build. Okay. Awesome. So we have our new app here. It finally showed up, but that's okay. I'm not going to trigger because the build time is anyway close to 1 hour. So I don't want to run the build now. I can show you already the build that I have. Okay. So now let's go and see how to create this part. So you see the wrap here. So if you go to other I mean, few other apps which are directly created here, not in the solution, you will not see this wrap button. Okay, I think all the apps here are created using wrap, so that's why. Is this also wrap? It's fine. So just assume like this option will not be shown if you create the app directly here. The app has to be part of the solution to enable this wrap. Okay. So now within this wrap, you need bundle ID, and client ID, and specifically for Android, you need client redirect URL as well, right? So now let's go to Azure and go to Active Directory, and then app registrations, and we're going to register a new app, right? So let's say I call, and this has to be multi-tenant app. That's one of the constraints. Okay, so once you save this, okay, so now this is your client ID. Okay, so just copy this, and then when you create your new app, so this is where you copy. Okay, so this is your client ID. So that's how you create it. So now what other things you require? You need to give permissions, right? So now what permissions do you need? So now if you go back to this. So now where is this stored? The entire solution. This solution is stored on Dynamics CRM page, right? So that's why we need permission for Dynamics CRM. So in the app APIs, we'll go Dynamics CRM, we'll add that permission. Okay. And next thing, you need access to Dataverse, right? Or you need access to Power Apps, which is actually residing, within this one. So you go here and you choose Power Apps service, right? So this is the Power App service, which this is required because without this, we cannot, the build system cannot. So this one, the build system needs to get the Power Apps actual app, right? So if this permission doesn't exist, then it cannot get that, app actually to wrap it. And also there are certain Azure related API connections are required because there's certain keys that we might ask customer in future in Key Vault because they not everything can be transferred over the air because of security reasons. So the best way to transfer is through Key Vault. So we are making sure like, this build pipeline has access to your own Key Vault, right? So that we access it very securely. So these are the permissions that you need to give. So once that is done, you need to add the platform, right? So within this platform now, go to authentication and you say, who can access this app, right? What is this app, right? What is this meant for? So this is for iOS and this is for Android. So let's go and add for iOS. And then, I'll just go with the same name. Underscore that app. I don't want to change it. That's okay. And I configure it and I add Android. Let's go with this. But here you need to, this cannot, this is sample. You need to give something. So I'm just giving some dummy value. You know, give me 1 second. I need to get this. No, this has to be something else. Give me 1 second. I'll generate it very quickly. Okay. So this one is configured now, right? So this is how Android is configured. So now you copy this URL and then go back to your app. Because you choose Android, you have to give your redirect. And I hope we added our client ID. Yeah, we added our client ID and we need the package bundle ID. So this is your bundle ID. So this is how you configure your, bundle ID and client ID and app URL, right? So all are done. So, and you also, yeah, let me also choose iOS. So you're done with your name. This one you can define whatever you want. If you don't want to choose secondary apps, that's okay, optional. Okay, so now you are done with your bundle ID, app ID, and URL for Android. Good, awesome. So now the next thing we're going to do is App Center URL. So let's go to App Center. So before you create your App Center storage, you need to have an org. If you go to AK, I already created an org. I call it as like, first demo underscore Sitaram. But if you go to appcenter.ms, there you can create your new org. So once you create an org, you need to create your app. App creation is create new app. And let's say, it's an Android app. Okay, it's an Android app. I choose here Android. And one thing to be very critical here is this is a React Native app. So remember, Power Apps totally runs on TypeScript. The whole Power Apps runs on TypeScript, and when we host it on mobile, we host it. We wrapped up with React Native, and then we host it. The reason for it is we want to bring uh, as much nativity as possible to the app. So React Native was the best suitable solution for us. So we built it with React Native. So when you choose Android, choose React Native and add a new app. So now this is giving you the app storage. So the next thing is you need to have a access token for it. Just go create a new access token. It's pretty straightforward. Give it full access, like, add a new access, give a description, something, and then just create a new one. You'll have this, and then, uh, store it here, right? This will be our, this is just dummy here, but you can create it there, right? And then store it. So similarly, once you're done with this, go back. This is the URL that you need to copy. So you'll see, SGUSD Android app. So this is something that you will copy here. And similarly, you'll create another one for iOS. Okay, and when you select iOS, the critical part is you should choose custom, but not the iOS. And release type, it can be production depending on your needs. The reason why we choose custom, at least for preview, is the build that will be generated for iOS is a zip file, not the IPA file. The reason is we are not signing the IPA file as part of the build process today, but in future we are planning to do it. But for now, you'll get a zip file. You can take it. We will have the steps documented how to sign it by yourself on a Mac machine, and then and then put host it on your app store. That will be future release. But for now, you have to sign it by yourself. Okay. So now this is your iOS URL. Sorry. Go here and you'll create the similar access token the way you created, for go to settings, API token, and then create a new token. Once you get your new token, you put it here and then save it, right? So once you save it, the data will be stored in Dataverse. The save means if the data is stored in Dataverse, so you're good, right? Once that is done, now what you're going to do is you're going to fire a build. When you fire a build, all it is doing is, calling Power Apps, getting all the metadata and wrapping it up and giving it to you, the IPA file and APA file. Now, because we are not running it right now, let's go and look at the ones that are already there, where to actually go and get those releases. So this is the place, right? So this is your Android app. This is the storage place that you might have given, here in the builds, and then go to distribute, go to releases, you'll see your builds here, right? So this is your download. When you click on this download, this is going to get you the APK file. This is, I have downloaded 7. So this is your APK file. So this completes the wrapping process. So now let's quickly look at, how to use it. Okay, so good. So let me uninstall this for now, just to show you. Uninstall. Okay, good. So now everything is gone. So now if I go to the demos, so these are the APKs. So I have 2 APKs that I created. Let's try with a wrap demo. So the way you install it, right? So there's another way, I quickly want to show you. So if you go here, when you click on download, not this one. So yeah, when you click on this button, this is going to give you a QR code. Now in your phone, if you scan this QR code, and if you have access to this App Center, then you can basically install the app directly on your phone. Even if I install the app in my phone now, I cannot show you. So I'm installing it in emulator. Okay. So now within this emulator, I'm going to drag and drop. So this is going to install the Android app for me. Okay. Okay, so now you see this app is installed. So now you don't need a Power App to be installed first to open your Power App in here. That's the power of of wrapping. Now let me log in. Just it. Next. Okay, so this is my 222 app. See, so this is basically um, this is the way you access your wrapped app in Android. You don't have to go to Power Apps and then click search for your app and then install it. So now let's say, how do you update these apps, right? So when I go here and then when I say edit it, so there are 2 ways, right? One, there will be automatically shown like all other, Power Apps. When there is a newer version is published, then it's going to show you hey, there is a newer version of this. Do you want to download it? And then you'll get your newer version. That's one way of downloading. The other, which I would prefer, which I usually do, is publish a newer version of the app, so that when you when you make a good amount of changes, good amount of business logic, it is always better to get reviewed through Android and iOS people, right? So they don't like over the fly changes. They support this ecosystem, but you also has to respect their rules, right? So their rules are, when there are major changes, you always republish your app to the stores, right? That's the recommended approach. But will our platform support, if you are making this small configuration updates, that's totally fine, right? So now that the newer version is updated, so now the goal here is this will have a pop-up, like as usual, like, it will show you like, hey, newer version is available. Do you want to download it? You click on it, it's going to download again for you from the, Power Apps store, and then it'll play the newer version. Okay. So that's the publishing part. I think this is published. I don't know how long it actually takes to show up here. Yeah, see, a newer version of the app is available. When you click on the tab, we have a third text box, right? So this process is not changing, but the recommendations are, if you're making any heavy changes, route it through. If you're going through Intune, you're good, right? Mostly it's Intune is better because it's still the enterprise level apps. These are not B2C apps. So for enterprise level apps, Intune gives you the best governance policies in place. So it's, if you're going through Intune, this works for you. Okay. So that ends up my demo, and let's see what are the next steps. We're going through public preview. That is planned next month. If we don't see any hurdles, there is a quality bar that we want to meet, and we're working on that. If 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 no hurdles were seen, we will release in next month. So this is my LinkedIn profile. You can follow me, and I'll try to post whenever we go public preview. I'll post, and also will publicly announce. This feature. So thank you very much for bearing with me for 45 minutes. Hopefully, hopefully you liked it. So any questions, Goloknath?
Yeah,
Yeah.
hi
Hi,
Sitaram.
Sitaram.
It's really interesting, and thank you so much joining us and giving us a lot of insights on what's coming up next. Yeah, there are some questions. I will come up those questions, and
Sure.
let me uh, maybe if you want to turn on your camera, if you wish, then it's also good. Okay, let
Oh, it's
me.
fine. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So questions I can see previously we answered. There are another one question. Let me start from Sashi. Once the app is wrapped and published for the users, will worsening and new changes once published in Maker portal automatically trigger the build? This is the first
Yeah.
question.
It doesn't trigger the build. You don't need to trigger the build. That's the beauty of it. But as I said earlier, if there are minor configuration changes, that's okay. So you'll see the pop-up on the top, user can click it and then publish it. That's perfectly fine, right? But if there are major changes, if you're adding multiple screens, new functionalities, if your size is changing from 150 MB to 250 MB or 300 MB, if there are drastic changes, I would strongly recommend go rebuild it again and then republish it, let user download it, from your distribution channel. So that's my recommendation.
Okay, perfect.
Hmm.
I think Shashi, you got the answer your question. And the next is who is responsible for data security? Do dev needs to take care of this or RAP will?
So with respect to the data, there is nothing changing, right? If you have your Power Apps today, if you publish it to your store, any data policies that are there today will remain as is. So there is nothing changing with wrap. The wrap is bringing you the branding capabilities, right? So your users or make your users will actually feel like, my app, the nativity in those app is what we are bringing. Data security is nothing is changing in there.
Okay. So Rohan, I think you got your question answered. Then next is once these apps are wrapped and distributed to stores, it goes through beta testing via the iOS on Android platforms?
So if you want to take this to iOS and Android platforms, this is no different, right? So for Android specifically, like, they have multiple rules, even iOS. So you can start with your beta testing. You can say like, hey, this, they call it flighting, like test flight. You take this IPA file, take that to the test flight, and then you use it. You give it. You can also add your specific users as your, like, test buddies, and then they can download. Only they can use it. Once you feel like, everything is good, and then you can publish it to production where everybody can download. So this is totally iOS feature and Android feature. They don't differentiate us. So if you have an IPA file or APK file, you're good. You can still flight your, app and then get your user feedback first, and then make improvements, take suggestions. You can do all this uh, A/B A/B testing or the flighting process. You can totally follow with this apps in your hand.
Okay, I think Shashi, you got your second question answered also. Vishwa has one question. Can we launch other apps? For example, we have created a Xamarin app. Can we launch from Azure?
No. So this is purely within Power Apps ecosystem, right? So you can build multiple Power Apps and connect them together. But can you launch a new Xamarin app? It all depends on, like, if Xamarin supports deep links, and if you can bring your deep link into your Power App, and when somebody clicks on that link, if it lands in Xamarin, then yes. Similar to Power Apps, like, Power App supports deep links, right? So when you click on an URL, if you have installed Power Apps, it will directly open it here, right? So that is supported. But, you know, is there a tight coupling between Power Apps versus Xamarin Apps? I don't think so.
Okay, I think Vishwa, I think you got your answer. Then Nitin has one question. Is it mandatory to have login Power App license for user, or can it be a page view or uses like Power Portal in future?
I didn't follow the question.
Is it mandatory to have login or Power Apps license for user, or can it be a on page view or uses like Power Portal in future? This is
No,
what.
no. So this is a premium capability, right? And you see, Dataverse is a premium capability that gives you storage and everything. So you need to have Power Apps license and Dataverse access, where you can install the solution. So this is a premium feature.
Okay. I think next question is from Atif. Atif has question Dataverse role in all Power Apps and particular scenario based app. Atif, it's a question. I'm also I cannot follow this. If you are there, can you turn on your mic? Maybe you want to ask this question.
Hi, uh, I want to I developing Power Apps and Power Portals through Excel and other database connector. So before right now I did hear that Dataverse.
Mhm.
So I need to know the Dataverse is role is mandatory for to connect database environment with Power Apps. A particular scenario based apps is required for data apps because if you configure a data apps, you need more like a challenges in a current environment.
Mhm.
Need a license, need a resource, need a something to configure it and manage it after when you develop. because developing phase is not complicated. Continuity is a meaning, like a as a like a management, okay, license and resources and that. So what a basic like a major role of a dataverse. I know, okay, this is a good things to manage all the database communication with that,
Mm-hmm.
but power apps related, like we have some small products like hospital apps and different apps, and some apps is very small like a ticketing like that,
Mm-hmm.
requesting. So they
Mm-hmm.
no need like a huge data, and some need like a huge data, but they are connected to, they are communicated with the X and CRM.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So the dataverse is a my pain question. Can you explain S point of view of a Power Apps?
So I think your your question is more towards, if I rephrase your question, you're asking what is the relevance of Dataverse? When should I use it? And what is the value that is bringing, in a Power App? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So do you need to use Dataverse for building every app? No, you don't need to, right? So the other app that I showed you, like, three text boxes and, one button, you don't need a Dataverse behind the scenes. So I built an app without Dataverse. So the Dataverse the reason why I recommend Dataverse is it's not just a storage. It's a solution based architecture which will give you capability to extend the entire platform, right? So if there is an account table, account entity that Microsoft gives by default, it has some level of logic written on top of it, right? So
Yeah.
now through Power Apps, when you're trying, if you use just that Dataverse account, and then if you're inserting one record, no much of use of it. So now when you're actually inserting a record, if you want to introduce your business logic, so now you can write your own solution, deploy it into that Dataverse. Now when actually Power App uses those APIs, now you can say, hey, if this account belongs to Singapore, do this. If this account belongs to India, do this. If this account belongs to US, do this. So you are getting that flexibility which you can add it to the platform itself, right? So that's the beauty of Dataverse. And it's not just you can version on top of it, right? You release version one changes and your customers use it. And now you put on top of it, right? You release another version, you release another version. And if they don't like it, take it out. You can take the top version out. So these are all the Dataverse capabilities that is bringing onto the table, right? And Power Apps can use Dataverse all the time. So it's another connector for Power Apps, Dataverse, right? And the biggest advantage you get for using Dataverse is ALM support, right? You develop everything on a lower environment, on your UAT environment. Now you want to bring it up to your prod. You make all the changes here, take it, put it in your prod. This flexibility, you'll get it only when you are on Dataverse. It becomes really easy for you if you're on Dataverse. Okay. So I would strongly recommend, I love Dataverse, right? Especially when I build my apps, it gives me so much flexibility and so much comfort. So I like it. Yeah.
Okay, I think we have last 5 minutes left. So Shashi raised hand, and let's start from Shashi, then Rohan. Two hands raised, I can see. Shashi, you may open up your mic and ask the question.
Hi, Sitaram. Thanks for giving us this insight on the new Power App apps. So this is on top of my question of beta testing. So as you said, like we once we like publish it to the store and after doing some test flights. So I just wanted to know, like before, usually when we develop any iOS app or any Android app, they go through the like Google
The
checklists.
review,
So
the review process. Yeah.
yeah, so so here also we will be going through that process or like
You
it's
have to. You have to, right? So what Microsoft is giving you, or perhaps RAP is giving you, is the end result after you build a native app, right?
okay.
Let's say you have an Android studio, you built an app, you build it successfully, you say 64 architecture, that will give you one APK file. So that's what Microsoft is giving you. Once you get that, it is your responsibility to distribute it, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, Intune probably is the best place to start with. You really don't have to publish to App Store or Play Store directly because these are all enterprise apps. Put it in your Intune store, right? And that your users download it from there and then use it to start with.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
to answer your question, yes, you have to go through the same process.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think next hand is raised by Rohan. Rohan, would you like to open up your mic and ask the question? We have last 3 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Sitaram. So, yeah, thanks for the demo. It just touched awesomeness. Okay, a very exciting topic. So, my question on this is about the performance. So, okay, so you said like RAP will have its own API stored in CRM database, right? And then we like Canvas app logics and everything will be taking data out of database. Okay, so let's say I have 1,000 users. So how much effect they are going to make it on my tenant CPU? If you could.
So performance is no different than, right? If you have built an app and if 1,000 people are using today, even after wrap,
Okay.
it will be the same.
Okay. So additional APIs won't be a overload, right?
So the only additional APIs will be called during the wrap time. Okay? Once it is wrapped, once you open the app, once you launch the app, it's exactly the same, right? The behavior, the performance, the security policies, nothing should change. That's the beauty of it, right? You get everything for free. So you just wrap it, publish it, you're good.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. So maybe if everyone agree, we can take together mode pick at last. If whoever want to turn on their camera, it's well and good. It's just I want to request. Let me make it together mode and let's see who are turning on their camera. I can see 3, 4. Okay, let me share my screen also so that everybody can see their photos. Yep. Great. We can see around 5 people, six turned on the camera. So, okay. So with that note, I'm just taking the photo and that's all. Okay, thank you everyone for joining
So
us, and especially I would like to thank Sitaram joining us, giving insights actually how the things are and how exactly, because it's really interesting, Android and iOS app development and all these things. And so yeah, definitely we are looking forward when it is going to be released in preview, then to try out how the things are. Then yeah, so again, thanks again joining us, and it's, I understand it's night for you, it's evening towards ending towards night for you.
good.
And thanks again, and thanks everyone joining us and giving asking the questions so that product team will get some insights also. Let's say some questions or something. If you have anything, you can connect with Sitaram also directly. I posted in the LinkedIn in the chat window, so you can connect with him. And with that note, I would like to thanks again, and I want to close this session and have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to
Bye.
me. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.